So, ladies and gentlemen, the NFL draft is right around the corner, more specifically, the NFL combine. So, you know that we are getting so many different mock drafts from ESPN, Fox Sports, PFF, you name it. I saw a mock draft a bit earlier that had us going for a wide receiver in the first round, which made me want to punch a hole through my wall, beat the hell out of Bob, because it's pretty clear that we need some defensive line help. However, I did find a mock draft earlier this morning that actually has a pretty intriguing prospect that the Buffalo Bills were projected to get at the 30th overall pick. And that just so happens to be Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of the University of Michigan. And let me tell you what, if we're looking for a one tech, folks, if we're looking for an upgrade from Daquan Jones, somebody that could open up the rest of our defensive line, even if we don't go for the Myles Garretts of the world, or we don't go for the Max Crosbys of the world, a player like Kenneth Grant, especially playing for a one-time national championship college football program, would be absolutely incredible. So welcome everybody to the show. If you are new here, my name is Dan Mitchell. I put out NFL content each and every single day. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you smash the like button, and more importantly, you subscribe and you turn on bell notifications, especially those of you that are watching the replay of this episode, because I want you to be a part of my live chat community. I always include the people in my live chat to continue to stir up conversations, and we are going to take a damn look at Kenneth Grant here. So smash that like button. Let's go on ahead and dive in. First, I have to give a giant shout out to today's sponsor. You'll probably notice that I pinned a link at the top of the chat. And I got to tell you what, Kalshi is hands down the prediction market, folks. If you want to literally bet on everything, I'm talking crypto, where the hell is Bitcoin going to go? Climate, economics, companies, financials, everything. It is a book for life. Anything you could think of, Kalshi, folks. And get this, they already have sports. They just ended up launching sports. And I know a lot of us, especially as Bills fans, we are going to be locked into the Four Nations face-off winner this evening. United States or Canada, who's going to win it? Well, let me tell you what. If you use that link pinned at the top of my chat, guys, you are going to get a $10 sign-up bonus where you can go on ahead and ride with them red, white, and blue, baby. USA is my overall pick. So go on ahead, sign up for Kalshi. Like I said, it's absolutely incredible. You can go on ahead and say best AI this month, Grok or Chat GPT, tech and science, you know, top US phone app tomorrow, Grok or GPT. Like, you can literally bet on anything. Apps, it's great. I love using it. Go on ahead and give Kalshi a try. But Kenneth Grant, folks, Kenneth Grant, what exactly do we need to understand about this guy? And I feel like that ever since we started getting into this conversation, we looked at why the Buffalo Bills were struggling as much as we did, all right, against the Kansas City Chiefs, and why we struggled defensively. You probably often heard me say a lot that we were a team that could not stop a third down conversion to save our damn lives, right? And how do you stop third down conversions? That is having consistent pressure against the quarterback, and that is having interior pressure, that is having solid, stout defensive line play. And while this defensive line had a couple of games this season, which I suppose was okay, you could always improve when it comes into it. So let's go ahead and check out this young man. He is 6'3". He is 342 pounds. I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to switch over to PFF here for a second, because these ads are absolutely driving me nuts right now, okay? 6'3", 339 pounds. He is a junior, and he is 21 years old, folks. Now, the biggest thing that stands out to me about Kenneth Grant is I want to show you guys a couple of things, because, like, let's just think about, right, what some of the biggest issues, or at least what fans were saying regularly, was the problem with the Bills defense. That was run defense, and that was interior pressure, the whole nine. And a guy that's 6'3" and 337 pounds, he's that big body defensive tackle that a lot of us have been pounding the table for ever since last offseason, where a lot of us were on the same page of we need Tavondre Sweat, but as we know, Brandon Beane just didn't want to pull the trigger, or ultimately didn't end up seeing the value within this guy right over here. But look at this. Run defense, absolutely stout at an 87.5 PFF grade. He's that big-bodied dude that is going to gobble up the run for any sort of running back that dares tries and runs right in between the gaps, right? He's also the sort of guy that's going to draw double teams, a consistent threat on the defensive line that we have been looking for. This is going to open up Ed Oliver. We have had these conversations that Ed Oliver is not the type of defensive tackle that elevates a defensive line. His performance is all but required and or lifted by who is around him. And that just so happens to be Kenneth Grant, man. An 87 run defense, which is absolutely insane. 3 sacks, and people are going to be like, oh, man, we need more sacks than that, Dan. Don't worry about it, folks, because a true nose tackle, a true one-tech defensive tackle, in which that he is, folks, is the kind of guy that's going to be lining up directly in front of the center, and he is going to be taking double teams, which opens up massive lanes for either Gregory Rousseau or whatever edge rusher that we ultimately end up rolling out with in 2025. All right. 3 sacks, 1 hit, and then 23 quarterback hurries. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what we see from Kenneth Grant right here, right? 4.9, 540. That's fast, folks. That is fast for a gentleman that weighs 337 pounds. I can promise you that. But anyway, moving on, because I want to take a look at some of his strengths. We're going to go on ahead and understand this together here. All right, so number 1, strengths. Let's go on ahead and take a look at this. Athletic freak, made Feldman's list 46 in 2022. 6'4", 360. He ran a sub 540. Jim Harbaugh told The Athletic this month, Ben Herbert, that the UM strength coach, who has trained more than his share of freaks, said Grant has incredible traits and is likely to be a number 1 freak down the line if he applies himself. That was a couple of years ago. Has an impressive, quick first step. He's putting immediate pressure on an offensive lineman and quarterbacks. Immediate, folks. Immediate right there. Natural leverage advantage and compact frame and powerful base, excels at resetting the line of scrimmage on one-on-one situations. He developed pass rush repertoire, including swim, rip, club, and spin moves. Doesn't rely solely on bull rush despite his power advantage. So he's versatile. He wins in many different ways. He's a quick processor who recognizes blocking schemes and adjusts particularly effective reading and defeating down blocks. Active hands in passing lanes. School record holder for pass breakups by a defensive lineman, shows awareness when rush stalls. 3 years of high-level production against elite competition in the Big Ten, and special teams value as an interior rusher on field goal block unit. Blocked multiple kicks in high school, showing natural timing. Now, obviously, with every single strength, we obviously need to unpack what are some of the weaknesses. And every single player has weaknesses. And one thing I always like to say, depending on the scheme in which some of these young men are drafted, a lot of the times they just scheme out their weaknesses and they only ask them to live up to their strengths. So let's read that with that disclaimer out there immediately. Pad level rises too quickly off of the snap, and that's one weakness. That is negating natural leverage advantage and allowing blockers to get under his pads. Needs to maximize length and extension. Too often allows blockers into his frame rather than using arms to create separation. Pass rush impacts run hot and cold. Flashes dominance, but can disappear for stretches when initial move is stopped. That sounds like something that could easily be coached up at the NFL level. Susceptible to reach blocks and outside zone. Lateral agility doesn't match exceptional straight line speed. Weight management could be ongoing challenge. Played between 339 to 360 pounds in college, and effectiveness dipped at the higher end. So we have to make sure, listen, we all sit here and then we have so many expectations. We have so many expectations for all of these players that come into the NFL, right? Like we're like, listen, like you better be an absolute dog. Well, let me tell you what. I would also like to point out that I think that each and every single coach that is on an NFL coaching staff needs to do the exact same damn thing. I need NFL level coaching, and all of those weaknesses that I ultimately ended up listing out sounds like it could be coached out of them. Personally, I like it. All right. Now, as many of you know, I have been pounding the table because I don't want a first round pick, because I want Max Crosby or Myles Garrett on this squad. I want to send a trade out there that shocks the world, and we have that crazy edge rusher that's going to be giving us 10 plus sacks for the first time since 2013. But if Brandon Beane remains Brandon Beane, folks, what could ultimately end up happening is that we keep our first round pick. We don't get a Max Crosby. We don't get a Myles Garrett. And as much as it's going to piss people off, it's going to be more of a Joey Bosa type signing, and just pray to God that he can play more than 10 games like he really hasn't been able to do for quite some time. So there we are, folks. Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan, first round grade. Field Yates, ESPN, had him mocked to the Buffalo Bills. Let's go on ahead and let's dip into the chat. I do want to remind everybody, if you are watching the replay of this video, you can catch me live, all right, at 11 a.m. EST, 5:15 p.m. EST, Monday through Friday, all right? So it's very important that you also turn those bell notifications on so you never miss an episode. I'm always yapping about football, baby. That's what it is. Football absolutely drives me. I love talking about it. I live it. I breathe it. If that is what you're all about, then I highly recommend joining our community, because we have a hell of a one. Grant is a beast. Let's go blue. GM360. Go blue, my friend. Go blue. That is awesome. Have some Michigan fans in here. And you know what? Again, I want Brandon Beane to do something that he doesn't typically do, and that is go and draft a traditional nose tackle / one tech defensive tackle. Give me a big body there. Give me a big body that absolutely swallows up the run, a big body that draws double teams, that's going to open up Ed Oliver, that's going to open up Gregory Rousseau, that's going to open up whatever other edge rusher we have, whether or not that it's Von Miller again, we hope not, or whether or not that it's some other edge rusher that we could potentially get. Kenneth Grant is one of my personal favorites. And don't worry, we are also going to be looking at several prospects that could potentially be fixing the interior defensive line issues that we have had an issue on as of late. Life of Oz. Dan, did you watch the Haley Steinfeld interview? She took a shot at the Jets, Patriots, and the Dolphins. I certainly did. She is my favorite. Dan, I also did a scouting report on this guy and watched film review on him. One of his main strengths is that he can bull rush and great with hands. Rare for a defensive tackle to have both of those qualities. Weak awareness. I mean, listen, I love that. And like I just said, Dwayne, and by the way, I definitely appreciate you providing that insight right here. I feel like all the weaknesses that I just read is not anything that's scaring me away from this prospect. Because while we have high expectations for this young man to go and truly develop into one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, and that's damn right, because we need that, I have expectations for the coaching staff to allow him to get there, right? So I'm not sure about you guys. Feel free to go ahead and screenshot this real fast. I love this site. So it's NFL Draft Buzz, but the ads absolutely drive me nuts. The ads absolutely drive me nuts. But hey, you know what? I know that they got to feed some families, so I'm not going to hate on them that bad. But again, I don't see any of these weaknesses that could potentially not be coached up from him, right? Like nothing physically is holding this guy back. If Beane doesn't exit the building soon and stop wasting Allen's talent, Allen is going to be another Marino or Kelly, and McDermott will be Marty Schottenheimer. So here's the deal. Oh, man, listen, I've been defending Beane for the past couple of weeks. I might as well go on ahead and just like do a video or something like that, because I feel like I have to say this each and every single time. Beane is a top 3 GM in the NFL. And people are going to be like, oh my God, look at what Howie Roseman was able to do. Let's not forget that Howie Roseman had like some of the worst drafts we've ever seen in our entire life his first couple of years over in Philadelphia. A lot of Philadelphia Eagles fans wanted him gone. Let's also look at the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Who have not had a good draft class for about 4 years. And that also tends to be a team where everybody kind of wants to compare us to. They're like, oh my God, look at the Cincinnati Bengals, how high flying offensively they are. Like, look, we can thank coaching. We can thank Joe Brady. But really, when it comes down to it, like, you have to look at personnel. And this guy over here, like, he has absolutely stocked our team with quality talent all across the board. Everyone on earth is going to talk about Kyer Elam being drafted in the first round because we didn't go for Trent McDuffie. But folks, we drafted Christian Benford in the 6th round. If you were that pissed off about Kyer Elam, just tell yourself and hypnotize yourself that we drafted Christian Benford in the 1st round, because him and Trent McDuffie are literally the same when it comes into statistics. And Benford is better than McDuffie in preventing separation. He was second in DVOA, only next to Patrick Surtain. And it wasn't a massive gap between number one and number two in the first place. So while there's a couple of first round misses here and there, I mean, guys, like we are in a hell of a lot better of a position. Like we are in a hell of a lot better of a position than 99% of the NFL, right? Is what it is, man. It is a game of inches. It is not Brandon Beane. And I just think that people wanting to fire Brandon Beane is just silly. Absolutely silly. Eric, what's going on, man? Hope all is well. Thank you, Dan, for fixing the neon sign. You are truly a man of the people. Have you thought about doing a video with Joe Marino? I've like reached out to him a couple of times, but I don't know. He's too Hollywood to work with Dan Mitchell. You know what I mean? He never responds to me. So door is open. Hey, Dan, watch the video of Grant run down the running back. Well, it's pretty funny because let me tell you something. I actually have some stuff here. Let me see. There you go. All right. Here's Grant. Solid stuff. Absolutely getting to the quarterback. And again, he only had 3 sacks last year, so something to consider, right? Like he's a pressure guy, he's a big body, but he moves great. He moves fantastic, man. Like, come on, man. His hands are absolutely elite, like Dwayne just ended up pointing out. Solid against the run. Dude, oh my God. He just took an offensive lineman down with one hand. Once again, absolutely bodying offensive linemen. You love that. Here's another one. Here's some more Kenneth Grant stuff. Take him round one. Imagine Kenneth Grant clogging the middle of D'Amico's defense alongside Will Anderson. Chill out, bro. Chill out. Kenneth Grant is a menace to the center. At the center of a defense. He's constantly draws double teams, but still has managed 8 sacks, 50 pressures, and 39 run stops in the last 2 seasons. He's 6'3", 342, incredible athlete at the same size. Kenneth Grant, the Viking sounds real nice. Random draft thought. Grant could be a really good pickup for the Bengals. Oh, man, listen. He's getting a lot. He's getting a lot. Oh, yeah, where you at? Look at that, dude. Look at this guy. Come here. Come here, man. He runs a 5-second 40. Look, dude, he's chasing down a damn runner. Look, dude, you know what? He's got Buffalo written all over him. He's got Buffalo written all over him, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. Jay is coming on in saying, did Kenneth Grant benefit playing next to Mason Graham? Maybe, but like, here's the deal, right? Like they play like 2 different positions, right? Like his role is to be a 1 tech and take double teams. He's fast, and an athletic freak, as many from Michigan have already been suggesting. So I'm pretty big on that. He was only good in Carolina because of Cam, I guess. DF forever. He only had 3 sacks because the rest of his line was questionable at best. Braden Allen, should we get Deion Walker or Grant? So it really depends, right? It really, really depends. So I think Grant's a bit more athletic. But say, for example, that you wanted Deion Walker, which would probably be more of like a 2nd-round pick, like an early 2nd or maybe even a 3rd. Sure. It just depends on what you want. But like, as far as all of the things that he brings to the table, as far as his athleticism, his hands, his versatility, I think Grant's definitely one of the better ones. We need a Dan Mitchell Buffalo Fanatics collab, Dan. Rico and Bot, book it. Dude, let me tell you what. I have worked with Rico and Bot all the time. I love those dudes. They are good friends of mine. We'll get them on the channel here soon. I know you're talking draft, but what are you doing a video on Christian Kirk, bringing him to the Buffalo Bills? Ooh, man. I don't know. That's good. We'll go on ahead and we'll add that to the Rolodex, my friend. We will add that to the Rolodex. Folks, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Go on ahead and vote in the poll for me. What about TJ Sanders, defensive tackle out of South Carolina? I know I put a lot of their prospects on here. I'm a Gamecocks fan. Cut me some slack. No issue at all, my friend. I appreciate that. I'm assuming you're from South Carolina. I lived in South Carolina for quite some time. So I empathize with that, man, right? Like all my boys are South Carolina and or Clemson fan, so I totally get it. I haven't had a really good opportunity of looking at his game. I did see him over at the Reese Senior Bowl a couple of weeks ago, but I'm still pretty much in free agency. But now that the combine is next week, I'm shifting over to a little bit of draft content. Dan is teasing y'all. He knows two Harbaughs is drafting before y'all. He's playing 3-card Monty with you fools. I mean, hey, listen, it was mocked, and that's all I'm doing, baby. It was mocked, and we're having a conversation. Dan, anyone in free agency that you think could be a good pickup for a good price? I like Asante Samuel Jr. He's a CB2 out of so the Chargers. He's dealt with some injuries, but if he could stay healthy, I think that that's a massive upgrade from Rasul Douglas. Trying to think of some other free agents that would be relatively affordable that could be pretty solid. If James Cook doesn't want to play for less than $15 million, I'd be okay with J.K. Dobbins being added right to our running back room. I'd be cool with Hollywood Brown, right on the outside too. He's super fast. And we already ended up getting the blessing from Josh Allen as well. So that's something to certainly account for. But that's where I'm at. Dexy, Dan, Kenneth Grant and Derek Harmon are the two defensive linemen I would want with Bills' first round pick. Well, let me tell you what, man, I'm fine to also look into Derek Harmon based off of any mock draft that comes in. But today we talking about Kenneth Grant and this defensive tackle. Let's see. Besides Walter, we ain't getting his ass. I'm fine with Walter Nolan too, though. Who is the best defensive tackle? I like Walter Nolan. And so I like Walter Nolan quite a bit, but I'd say it's probably Kenneth Grant's probably most upside as far as a one tech. None of my Michigan players will embarrass themselves by wearing a Buffalo uniform. Ray, I know. I'm pretty sure you're a Patriots fan. Don't worry about it, my friend. Hopefully they don't embarrass themselves wearing a Patriots uniform either, all right? The dusty-ass champions. Go Blue. Ray, what's going on, man? Dan, so what do you think about the Holland rumor? I mean, look, right? I have seen so many safeties come into the Buffalo Bills organization and absolutely flourish. I feel like we have to talk about Poyer and Hyde. Prior to both of them coming to the Buffalo Bills, they were absolutely pedestrian, right? Did not have a very good career, but Sean McDermott's system ended up elevating them into having one of the best careers, one of the best safety tandems we've ever seen. So I would be okay with Javon Holland. I really, really would. I definitely would be okay with Javon Holland coming to the Buffalo Bills. When I see Grant's tape, I see a whole lot of Aaron Donald with that speed in hands and explosiveness, underrated strength. Kidding. I'm just checking in with Dan like I do almost every morning. Ray, I sincerely hope that you're having a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Guys, 174 of you in total watching right now. We have 77 on X. We have 94 on YouTube. We have 2 on Facebook, 1 on Twitch. Do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We need to have over, 75 like buttons smashed within the next couple of seconds. It's the easiest way to support me. If you are watching on your phone, then you're probably getting blocked by the live chat. Just minimize that momentarily and then come back up and let's make that happen. All right, guys, let's pump up that like button like there's no tomorrow. We're talking Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle out of Michigan. Would he fit in the Buffalo Bills organization? Blackman may be cheaper than Holland. I would be fine with Blackman. We wanted him. I think it was last year we wanted Blackman. Dan, have you heard the Mike Green rumor that if it's true, he could not get drafted? I didn't hear a rumor about Mike Green, but here's the deal. So Mike Green's a solid defensive end as far as pass rush, but he's an absolute liability when it comes into run defense. He is not good at run defense at all. So it's a give or take sort of situation. It's a give or take sort of situation. Johnny Tran, a defensive end, is what the Bills need mostly. We are soft bodies. Ed Oliver needs help. But I will tell you what, Johnny, having a dominant one-tech defensive tackle right next to Ed Oliver, that's going to open him up as well. It can either be an edge rusher or a one-tech defensive tackle. You just need one game wrecker on the defensive line that's going to cause for drawing double teams. It's what you need, right? it's what you need. It doesn't matter if it is an edge rusher or it is a one-tech defensive tackle. As long as somebody is being accounted for that's drawing double teams, rest of the line is going to eat regardless. For all I know, maybe Javon Solomon goes off next year, right? Like with a Kenneth Grant addition, who even knows? Support this guy and hit that like button. GM360. I appreciate that, guys. Smash that like button for me. Let's get it going. We have Donovan Wilson, would definitely be cheaper than Holland if you wanted him. Mike Green is a liability with his personality as well. We have Craig. It's 16 degrees outside, having coffee out back by the fire with my doggo and Dan Daru. Craig, what's going on, man? Hope all is well, dude. Craig watches me during his 10 a.m. morning coffee, and I appreciate that. Craig, stay warm out there, my friend. That sounds great. I wish that I had a fireplace in my backyard. Maybe I'll need to invest in one, man. That's a beautiful way to start your morning. Is there any cornerback prospects you want to look at? Absolutely, my friend, which is why I highly recommend each and every single one of you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and turn on bell notifications, because we're going to be pounding your timeline all off season with draft prospects, with free agents, breaking news, the whole nine, folks. So without me spoiling what I'm going to be putting out for all of you, just make sure you subscribe and you smash that like button as well, right? Because I want to be able to get this and take requests. What's up, Dan? Hope all is well. I'd be happy with Garrett and Holland and good draft picks to fill the rest of our needs. Bills Mafia, Holland and Garrett right to the defense, huh? Dan, I like Deion Walker and either Howard Cross III, 6'1", 288 from Notre Dame, or Jordan Phillips, 6'1", 318 from Maryland, and sign Holland. Very intriguing. I am going to look at these guys, right? Like we're talking about Kenneth Grant today because he was just mocked to us by Field Yates on ESPN. So I wanted to take a look at this dude. What would he mean to this offense? Excuse me. What would he mean to this defense? So would you be looking for a Jahdae Barron and Trey Amos from Ole Miss and potentially cornerback picks in the first round? Not necessarily the first round. Here's my thing. If, for example, that we do have a first round pick, which I think that we will, I'd rather spend it on a defensive tackle. It's my number one want for this Buffalo Bills team is for us to go out and trade for Max Crosby and or Myles Garrett. That's priority number one, right? Number two, if that doesn't happen, I want to keep our first round pick, but I want to get a game-changing defensive tackle, right? Say, for example, that Kenneth Walker, and say, for example, that like any true difference maker that doesn't have a first round grade falls to us at 30, trade down. Like just go on ahead and just wait and just like stock up on second round picks if necessary. Because guys, like we have been drafting from 25 to 32 for the past, 5 or 6 years. And that's not a bad thing. Like that means that we're a good team, right? Because we draft that late. And 9 times out of 10, like there aren't a lot of players that have first round grades after the 20 mark. And some of you are probably going to be like, oh, Dan, well, they were drafted in the first round. What are you talking about? Like I'm talking first round grades, like players that would deserve to be in the first round. I think this first round class or the potential first round class is relatively top heavy. So we'll see. Hopefully somebody falls to us at 30 and we'll see. Hey, Dan. And do we have 10 picks this year? Yeah, we sure do, my friend. Jay, I mean, the Bills can select a corner in the second round then. Oh, yeah, most definitely. So I like Trey Amos. I do like Azareye'h Thomas as well. I do like Jahdae Barron as well from Texas. A lot of guys that we could do. But then again, don't sleep on free agency for a CB2 either. And so I like Asante Samuel Jr. on the outside. So that's an option for us as well. Chewy, Dan, we need a high motor beast to plug the gaps, period. Look no further than our good friend Kenneth Grant, my friend. Look no further. That or Deion Walker out of Kentucky. I think that he would be pretty good too. All these people trashing Brandon Bean. Y'all don't have to deal with Jerry freaking Jones. I would love to have Bean, so please stop trashing him, dude. Oh, man. It's fair, right, man? It's fair. And so I feel like everybody um, has beef with their GM after a disappointing season. I've seen Matthew Golden fall quite far in some mock drafts. If he falls to the second round, is he someone that you think we should be looking to trading up for? He's got speed, right? If Matthew Golden falls to the second round, then yeah, for sure. For sure. Especially since we have 2 second-round picks. And they're toward the end, of course, right of the second round. He's fast as hell, man. Like he runs a 4.340, like a 4.3840. And that's precisely what the Bills need is somebody that can stretch the field vertically and win that way. Yeah. If not, like say that Golden doesn't have it, like I said, boys, pounding the table, Jalen Royals. That's my dude, man. Jalen Royals is my dude, folks. I can promise you that much. Derek, Kenneth Grant would be a dream pick. I can't imagine he would actually be in reach for the Bills at 30. He will likely be gone in the top 20. Be lucky if he is still around at 25. Derek, oh man. Could we get Walker and Grant? That would be so redundant because so they play the exact same position, right? So they both play a one tech defensive tackle, and that's how they would be used. Like, say, for example, like we wanted to go Grant and then we wanted to get a 3 tech, which we already have 2 on the roster right now. We have Ed Oliver, who plays very well when he has the right like unit, like right on the defensive line. Yeah. So that would be a bit redundant since both of them are 1 tech defensive tackles. I have had beef with Jerry since we went all in on a Zeke, and 2 former coordinators of ours are now head coaches. We have Lamb K. Prods absolutely despises Jerry Jones. We crucify EDC for drafting projects at Ed Rusher that we would wait 2 to 3 years to see what we get out of our first and second round picks. Listen, every single fan base hates their GM at some point. So I promise Bills Mafia, we are not in a terrible situation. Every GM misses. Grant is what the Bills have needed for years. If he is in the mid-20s, trade up for him. The Vikings need draft capital. Wow. Look at that. Chris Paul and Singer are names I like at the linebacker position. Linebacker? I'm not necessarily sure if I would put a crazy draft grade on a linebacker this year. I wouldn't use like a higher pick. Like I'd say for depth, I'd be okay, but I don't know. Safety is intriguing too. Dan, my dream Bills draft is Derek Harmon, Trey Amos, Jalen Royals, Kyle Kennard, edge rusher out of South Carolina, Billy Bowman. Yes, bro. Sebastian Castro. So back-to-back safeties. Jay Higgins, Chase Lunt. We have a Jalen Smith. We have Keandre Lambert-Smith and Sean Dolak. Wow. All right. All right, man. Listen, I'm fine with that. I love Billy Bowman. He's a solid free safety that we could certainly go for. Sebastian Castro is good, but he's more of a strong safety, right? Like, dude's more of a strong safety. And, like, we already have Cole Bishop that we ended up spending a pretty significant draft pick on. And then I think Rapp's coming back for a year, too. But is what it is. I love the Billy Bowman pick because that's a free safety, something that we've needed for quite some time. We have Knock Andrew, our Raiders fan that always comes in here and loves us, dude. Rocks with us, man. Hope all is well. 103 like buttons have been smashed right now, folks. Well, actually, 103 of you are in here. Do me a favor, smash that like button if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so far, guys. We have to get over 100 likes by the time this is all said and done. We're talking draft. We're having a good time. The people have spoken. The poll is the biggest need is defensive tackle 50%, defensive end 34%, safety, free safety 9%, wide receiver 3%. Thank you for voting. Look at that, folks. We have our poll up, and it sounds like a lot of us are saying that we need an interior defensive lineman, specifically at the 1-tech position. I can appreciate that. Alexander, what's going on, my guy? Hope all is well. Hope you are enjoying your Thursday. Instead of Jalen Royals, have you took a look at Trey Harris from Ole Miss? I have not, but I will certainly put him on my list. The only one I would want a defensive tackle is as if Jack Sarr has already been drafted. Hey, Dan, what's up, Galactic Empire? How you doing, folks? Guys, smash that like button as you're coming in. Almost like I did that before, right? You are in here taking in the content. Smash that like button. Shane Quinn up in here, baby. I like that. Hi, Dan, Matthew. Hope all is well, brother. Hope all is well. But all right, folks. So I love each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for always tuning in twice a day, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. EST and 5:15 p.m. EST. I have some errands that I have to run. I will be back for BetUS TV's The Huddle this afternoon at 3 p.m. EST, and then also for my afternoon stream. I think I might unpack a little Matthew Golden action. I might unpack something else, not particularly sure. But yeah, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate you, and we'll see you later. Peace.